You just can't make this stuff up at times, I'm telling you. We was going to have a really cool video today. We're going to have the old Anschutz out. We haven't used this for ages. Pretty much about as high end as you're really going to get. And I've borrowed one of these. This is a cheapy Gamo brake barrel. This is one of the cheapest guns on the UK market, and this is one of the most expensive. Ultimately, we just wanted to have a play with this more than anything, do a bit of plinking, see if we can actually get any performance out of it. However, I wanted to do a comparison between the two, and she's completely empty. Typical. Now, it did need a service. It needed servicing really at the end of last year, but I've left it in the cabinet over the winter. Got it out a couple of days ago. It was holding air fine, put the scope on, and in the last couple of days it's lost all of its air. So today it looks like we're going to be playing with this. Unfortunately, I had a really cool little sort of intro that I wanted to do, so I'll show you what the intro should have been, and then we'll get cracked on and we'll see how much fun we can have with this, shall we? Question for you. If you had the choice, what would you rather have? One of those, or about 35 of those? It's quite incredible the price difference between these, but we're going to go and do a bit of plinking today with both of these, have a bit of fun. Ultimately, we want to see how much sort of performance we can get out of one of the cheapest rifles on the UK market. Let's get into it, shall we? Right, that's what we had planned, but the Anschutz has let the side down. Now, this has generally been quite a reliable rifle. It does need servicing now. Obviously, it did need servicing at the end of last year, but we're going to get out the wind. It's pretty windy out here at the moment. We're going to do a bit of pellet testing on this. Now, I've already used this. I've got some footage from indoors at the club the other night. We're going to do a bit of pellet testing at the shorter ranges, see if we can get to grips with these open sights on here, and see if we can go and enjoy ourselves, shall we? See what you get for £100. Right, check these beasts out. I've got 4 of them here. Now, these belong to the club. These are Gamo Deltas. This is the slightly newer version. There's a previous version to these which looks quite similar. Now, I've got to be honest, it's quite a nice clean lined rifle. Got yourself a little polymer stock on here. Now, the mad thing with these is that these actually only cost £100 each. It's not an awful lot of money. Now, we've used these already for a couple of the scout days. They've all done just under 500 shots each. There was no issues so far with them. A little bit of dieseling to start with, but they've all settled down fairly well. All you really need is a bag and some pellets. You can get out shooting for not a vast investment, and as much as we often like to take the mick out of some of this stuff, I can pretty much guarantee that these particular Gamos and the older versions have, certainly in the last 5 or 6 years, got more juniors into shooting through the scouts and the cadets and the likes, because they all use these. When we bought these, we did a fair bit of research, spoke to quite a lot of people around us that are already doing junior shooting, and they all use these, which is quite surprising because the way this is built absolutely fascinates me. We've got plastic breech jaws on here. Now, they actually feel sort of quite slick to cock them. The actual cocking sort of procedure is quite smooth, quite slick. And strangely, you're going to think that that's no good, but there's actually really minimal play in there. So I guess it's a cost-cutting measure, but it also shifts quite a bit of weight off the front of these. Now, these are a sort of a 3/4 size junior rifle. We've got a sort of shrouded barrel on here and open sights. So, of course, you don't even need a scope to go on these. Quite like the swooped back on here. It's a bit of a nod to the old BSAs, the old Mercuries and Air Sporter type stuff. But you can actually get a fully functioning air rifle for £100 made in Spain, which is quite surprising. You'd think that being made in Spain, they'd probably be more expensive because, of course, these are made in Spain, shipped to BSA in the UK. Obviously, they're going to be making a profit on it. It goes to your dealer, who's going to make a profit, and then the tax man's going to take a cut of that as well. And it's still got a full retail of £100, which we paid for these. Right, I'm not putting a downrange camera up, unfortunately. They might be a bit wayward. So you can see the fresh card there. I've just put a shoot and see on it. These are actually shot from the other side back through. I'm going to see if we can actually put a few into the red, which would be interesting. So we'll do it within one take. I'm not going to risk putting the GoPro down there for the moment. Right, Texite Econ 2s, the best budget pellet ever made. A bit of twang to it. As I said, most of these have done just shy of 500 shots. Got a little bit of smell of fire. You can smell there's something going on in there, a bit of lubricant burning off, but not horrendous. Just gonna have a little look. Okay. So they're shooting a little bit higher than I was aiming. I was aiming bang at the actual red circle there. The fact that we've got those actually on the card, that's not too bad going. I haven't shot freestanding with a Springer for probably 15 years, I don't think. No, it can't be as long as that. Right guys, I'm not going to lie, I've been quite looking forward to having a play with this, see what sort of performance we can get out of her. We've got the Air Arms Diablo Fields, we're going to start with those and then we'll probably try the Barracuda 8s afterwards. 15 paces. Don't know whether I'm going to need the glove or not. I'm not entirely sure how well it's going to shoot off of the bag. Never let go of that barrel either. Right, that's seated in there nicely. I'm aiming like I'd be aiming the pistol, so I'm aiming at the bottom of the target. Don't worry too much about the actual positioning of any group we get. Let's just look at group size for the moment. Oh! Wow. She feels pretty springy when she's rested like that. Now, it's a sort of a bit of an issue with a lot of these polymer stocked springers because there's sort of the wood is very good when you've got wooden stocks, particularly beechwood. It's very good at damping off the vibration from springers, and this feels you get a bit more vibration back towards you. I don't know where that went. I can't see. Oh. The trigger brake weight on this is pretty savage. It could no doubt be polished. Probably you could almost certainly give the spring a bit of a clean up and a re-lube and actually put some manners into it. However, we have got a working air rifle for 100 quid. Are they even in the box? I can't see, you can. Now when the kids used these at our last scout day, there was loads of misfires where they were standing up, cocking them and loading them, especially with the old Econ 2s. I noticed that quite a lot of those were loaded skirt first. Quite a few of them pinged out when they were actually sort of relatching the barrel. They did quite a lot of dry fires and things. It didn't seem to make any difference. Are we even actually on there? Right, let's go and have a quick look, shall we? Did we really just put 3 through the same hole there? I can't see back there with the open sights. We've got one, I think that was obviously the first shot that went through straight after a pellet change. So have we put 3 through there and 1 through there? Well, I hope so. That's pretty impressive. I mean, that trigger is really hard to get used to. It's got a very long sort of stage to it. It's a single stage trigger by the feel of it. It's very hard to tell. It's sort of all a bit springy and graunchy, but I'm quite surprised. Right, let's get a couple more shots off then. We'll do another 5 or 10 shots with the Air Arms Fields and see whether or not then we can actually get some better groups out of it, see if they tighten up a little bit. That'd be cool. Oh, I've let the side down a little bit there. A bit more of a spread over to the left here. That first one, that's the one when we obviously swapped over the pellet, so it's good to see that there's no more sort of going right up high. What we got there? 1.5 inch, bit of spread on there. These cards get torn up quite quickly. These like knockoffs shooting T targets, they're not brilliant. But 100 quid, I'm not that disappointed with that. Let's swap over to the Barracuda 8s now. Let's get a few shots off with those, and then we'll use the ones that perform the best, and we'll go and see if we can shoot it out at 30 yards. Shall we see if we can actually hit anything? Then we'll get some of the plinking targets out. I hope you can see that. I forgot my Sharpie pens typically stay. So this is actually where I'm aiming. So I've got my front and rear sight aligned at the bottom of the target, much like you would be when you're shooting pistol. That's how you would typically be aiming with open sights. Now, if you actually aim directly at this target here, because it's darker, the sights become very, very hard to see, because obviously it's black sights against a darker target. But having this set up like this, obviously you can adjust your aim point relative to where the sights are. Obviously we're coming in a little bit high and a bit up here, but this is how we've got it set up at the moment. So it just makes it a bit easier to see. The black sights against this buff card works reasonably well, so that's what we're doing at the moment. Just going to swap over now to the Barracuda 8s. Right, that wasn't too bad a start. Barracuda 8s. These are a slightly harder pellet, so I'm not sure how well these are going to load into the back of the barrel. It has got quite a nice chamfer here. The lead in to the barrel is pretty reasonable. Okay, so that has actually settled in there nicely. You can feel it's a bit tighter to go in. I've sort of mostly got my index finger under the fore end of this, so although I've got the bag here, my hand is sort of doing most of the support. It's quite noisy. The actual shot cycle itself, obviously the mechanical noise is amplified with the hollow plastic stock here, but actually it's got quite a crack when it goes down range, which is surprising for a 6 foot-pound rifle. I'd like to try one of the Magnum versions. Some of them are what, in 20 foot-pound odd. That'd give the old teeth a rattle, I think. Oh, come on, trigger brake. Oh. I might have a go on the old biathlon target in a minute once we've settled on a pellet to use. Well, that one was a bit tighter going in. Once we've settled on a pellet, we'll have a little go on the biathlon target, and then we'll push the ranges out a bit in the wind, see if we can actually hit anything. I can't see from back here, but that the shot cycle feels slightly different with these. Now, being as they're harder, they certainly feel a little bit stiffer to load into the barrel. Everything's going to be slowed down a little bit more. The really interesting thing with these, when we have the kids down at the club, we do standing open sights on the 10-metre indoor. We've got 25-yard range that they often use rim fires on. Sometimes they'll have scopes on those and sometimes with diopters, but out the back, out at 50 metres, we have targets all the way out. They shoot balloons, and we've got a bunch of pre-charged rifles with bipods on, with quite large scopes on. Every single, well, at least 99% of the kids are absolutely buzzing when they see those rifles. You can see them when they come and shoot these. They're a little bit like, they're never quite as enthused to shoot the springers as they are the pre-charged rifles. Once they can get down on the mat shooting prone, I guess it's because of the computer games and things. Like, a lot of these youngsters who have, some of them have never shot at all in their lives, they can get straight behind the scope. They've got a pretty good idea how to align a scope with a target, and some of them can put in really, really good scores. But you notice immediately, I mean, they'll walk straight past these beautiful late 1980s beautiful Olympic match rifles, the 22 Anschutz, the 22 LRs. These, yeah, they're definitely not quite as enthused with these, but yeah, the pre-charged stuff with a scope and a bipod, especially the black tactical ones we've got, they seem to absolutely love those. I think it's like anything nowadays, these take a bit of skill and a bit of time to master. I think kids nowadays have got so much going on. If you can't keep them entertained within 5 minutes, you've probably lost them for the rest of the day. Right, let's go and have a look, see what sort of group we've got down there. Whoa, look at that. Was this one of the first ones when we did the pellet swap? Did they start up here and work their way down? Look, we've got quite a lot there, so that's quite a markedly tighter group. It actually sort of shoots a bit nicer with these harder pellets. I think the piston's not slamming forward quite so hard. It certainly feels a bit more manageable. I'll tell you what we'll do now then. Let's get the biathlon target out, and we'll just go down to the extended range here, so just under 25 yards, and see whether or not we can knock any of those down. Now, as I said, I'm aiming down here. We're a little bit more centred as well. The other lot with the air arms fields were coming in a little bit to the left. I think maybe we'll just hold under like we are currently and see if we can get some of them spinners going, shall we? Right, biathlon targets out. Now, this is going to be challenging. What I hadn't banked on is the fact that I can barely see them down there with the sights. It's quite dull down there. The sun's not on the target, so actually it's going to be quite hard even just sighting them, let alone whether this is accurate enough, but we shall give it a go. I think that ended up in the far left one. I was aiming for the second left one, so right. Oh, did we split it? Can't tell. So if you've got a high-end match rifle, it's not really challenging at all, but this is a whole different ball game. No idea. Made a funny ting, I know that much. This does actually have dovetails cut in here, so you could put a scope onto it if you wanted to. You're probably going to need a reasonable quality scope though, the way that this recoils. I should think this is a bit of a scope wreck up. I think we might have missed the whole box then. But I do think it would be a shame to put a scope on here. It's quite fun with the open sights on it. It's a whole different shooting experience. I don't know. tell you what, I'm going to quickly swap that target over and change it over to just a MEP knockdown. Hang on a mo. Oh wow, okay. They're dropping quite a lot more than I thought they were. Obviously I can't see an awful lot from back where I'm shooting from. Let's have another couple of goes, see if we can actually hold off up a bit more over this way. I was sort of aiming here because I thought from where I was shooting that they were coming in just about this sort of height, so I'm holding up a little tiny bit, but I think I need to be doing it a bit more if we're dropping them down here. I've stamped a couple together though, it's quite scattered. The thing is I really can't see, the actual foresight width is about this wide. Sort of goes from about there to about there. Well, let's give it a few more shots, if not we'll get the old crowzilla out and get out in the field, shall we? We've had a bit of a, well, not an issue, but it's something that's sort of highlighted to us at the club, is that because we've got the open sights on here, they're both black, so the front and the rear sights both being black like that, it might be a good idea to put some Tipp-Ex on the back edge of this fore sight here. Now, depending on the colour of the targets that you're shooting against, if you're shooting against a sort of a lighter or a buff coloured card target, you're going to be fine, but if you're shooting with a darker backstop, these get lost very easily, so a bit of Tipp-Ex on the back there would be a decent option just to highlight it. On the slightly more expensive models, they have some sort of fibre optic elements on them which make it a little bit easier, but this one, being the cheapest one, doesn't, so well worth thinking about. Well, I didn't really think about this. Can you tell? Oh. Oh my God. I think this is probably the reason why you don't use brake barrels for prone shooting. Oh, it's too far away again. Right, that's 40 good paces. Did we hit it? It sounded like we put one on the plate. Well, I can't tell. Yeah, that's one of ours, one of those. Down here was this. Tell you what, that's been a really challenging afternoon's shooting. Really enjoyed it. You definitely don't need to spend a ton of money to have fun, I can tell you that much. If you want to compete at the high end, you want to be an Olympian, then maybe you do, but to have a bit of fun, you want to do a bit of plinking in the garden, highly recommend that every so often. Just breaks it up, brings a bit of fun back into the shooting. Alright, I'll see you back at home. Ordinarily I'd have packed up by now, but I reckon we can actually get that. They were right up top left. Buzzards are out again. I'm done. Well, that was actually quite fun. The Anschutz unfortunately let the side down for the high-end stuff, but the little Gamo Delta pulled through in the end. So is it any good? Well, I'm not going to answer that directly. I think ultimately Gamo should be commended for making stuff and bringing it to market at this sort of price. This retails for 100 quid. By the time your dealers made their money, the VAT man's taken his portion of that. They're not going to be making tons of money on these, and they should be commended for actually just getting stuff out there that's affordable, giving people options. And in that respect, I think, to be honest, we can't really criticise it too much. It's aimed squarely at the entry level of the market, and it will do a job. Now, we use quite a few of these and some of the older versions at the club, as do numerous scout groups and small shooting organisations to get the kids into it. The one thing that has become glaringly obvious over the last couple of years is that, yes, these are cheap, they will get you into it. But the reality is, if you wanted to teach your kids or your grandkids to shoot, you're probably better off with an entry-level PCP nowadays. Unfortunately, the world is ruined. The kids just don't have the concentration span that we would have done when we were younger. There's far more distractions. Things like TikTok and like that sort of stuff, you know, the short videos and things, they're always able to get that quick hit, that quick buzz from watching something for doing something to actually get them to sit and concentrate and learn to do stuff, it's tricky nowadays. And when you start speaking to a lot of the coaches and people that actually do this on a more professional level, they all say the same thing. A lot of the clubs are swapping over to the pre-charged rifles. It's a bit like taking your kids to learn to fish. You're not going to stick your kids on a rock-hard carp syndicate that throws up one fish a month. You take them to a well-stocked farm pond so they can go and bang out a load of small fish, get absolutely hooked on the sport. And it's a bit the same with these, really. It's a bit of a sad thing, ultimately, and the world's changed a lot. You know, the kids are always on their phone. We see it when they're at the range. If they're not entertained and if they're not hitting targets within 10 minutes, you've absolutely lost them. But I'm going to borrow a few different rifles from the club down the line. We've got quite a selection of things, some older stuff, some newer stuff, some pre-charged bits and pieces. I really enjoyed it today, had great fun. Unfortunate about the Anschutz, I need to get that serviced, I'll get that set up. But yeah, Gamo Delta, 100 quid. You can have an awful lot of fun with that. I don't think I'm ready to go and buy myself a budget Springer just yet, especially if I can just borrow them from the club. But I've had great fun, guys. I will catch you in the next one. We've got some pretty mad stuff happening in the background. So as soon as we can get some of these new projects on the go, you'll see them here first. I'll see you in the next one.